Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever and whenever you are. Welcome. Out of the deep have I called unto thee, O Lord. Lord, hear my call. These lines, written by English composer John Rutter some 40 years ago, are a hauntingly beautiful interpretation of the opening of today's psalm, Psalm 130. This psalm has long been a staple of requiem masses and other somber occasions, featuring prominently in the funerary liturgy of our own Book of Common Prayer. In it, we hear an individual crying out to the Lord from the depths of despair. The image of the deep, evoked by the original Hebrew phrasing, places the psalmist in the depths of a metaphorical sea. The waves of sadness are crashing around them, and the ocean depths of hopelessness are pulling them downwards. In that moment of crisis, they call out to the Lord. Now, I would imagine that all of us have been in such a desperate situation at one point or another in our lives. Perhaps you're in that situation right now. Maybe you are dealing with the loss of a loved one from whom you have been cut off, and you fear you will never be able to reconnect with them. Stranded in an ocean of loneliness from which there appears to be no escape. Maybe you are being buffeted by addiction or mental health issues, struggling to maintain an equilibrium in your life. Maybe it is rising costs, unemployment, or other sources of scarcity that are pulling you downwards, and you feel those pressures closing in on you from all sides. Maybe it is something else. But I fear we have all called out for help before. And I also bet that is how Mary and Martha felt in our gospel today as well. For their brother Lazarus had fallen very ill, and from the depths of their worry and in a desperate, hopeful attempt, they sent for Jesus, sending a letter that may have sounded very much like this. Out of the deep have I called unto thee, O Lord. Lord, hear my call. But by the time Jesus arrived, their hope had turned into hopelessness. Their beloved Lazarus had been swallowed up by death. They now were sitting Shiva in their home, surrounded by well-wishers attempting to cheer them up with memories of Lazarus. Yet the hopelessness was still there. Mary and Martha both come to Jesus and exclaim, "If you had only been there, Lord, Lazarus would not have died. If you'd just come, Jesus, it would have been all right. Our hope would have been realized. But now it is too late. The waters of death have swallowed up our dear brother." And in that moment, hearing the pain of these women, feeling their hopelessness, Jesus wept. Yet that's not the end of the story. In the words of another psalm, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. For Jesus comes to Lazarus' tomb and prays to the Lord. "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me." And miracle of miracles. The waters of despair crashing over Mary, Martha, and Lazarus are parted like the depths of the Red Sea. Death is conquered, and utter hopelessness is replaced with a newfound joy. Lazarus, come out, for Lazarus lives. This is one of the key tenets of our Christian faith. In the deepest depths of despair, when all feels lost, when those waves of hopelessness feel like they are crashing in all around, call out to the Lord, for in the Lord is our hope. And if we put our trust in the Lord will hear us and will answer us if we look hard enough. For in the Lord all things are possible, even the creation of hope from hopelessness. Do you remember that deep, the word, the deep from which our psalmist calls? The deep I sang when I said, out of the deep have I called unto thee, O Lord. Do you remember it? It is the same deep from which God transforms the chaos of the universe into the beauty of creation in Genesis 1:2. It's the same Hebrew word. Yes, the Lord is able to take the ocean of hopelessness and chaos and use it to water a seed of hope from which a garden of newfound joy can come. Just as Jesus raised Lazarus from the depths of the grave to give us a story of hope, the Lord can take your moments of hopelessness and transform them into a promise of hope. Now, I'll end today with a short story to exemplify the point. Nearly 4 years ago, I lost the most important person in my life, my mother, to a painful bout with pancreatic cancer. On the night she died, I sat on her bed with her, and I held her head in my hands, these hands, as she took her last breath. She made out one last word, love, and then she was gone. In the moments immediately following her death, I sat next to her bed staring at her as everyone else hustled around me, making arrangements. I was lost. Like Mary and Martha, I felt hopeless. I began to be overwhelmed by those depths of despair as I looked at the tomb for my mother. I remember thinking, what am I going to do now? How will I go on? And just then, a small black book on her nightside table caught my eye. I hadn't noticed it before, as it was partially buried under papers, pill bottles, and a box of tissue. But I reached out. I picked it up, and I held it in my hands. And I noticed that there was a page marked with a ribbon. As I opened it up, at the top of the page, my eyes saw these words. Out of the deep have I called unto thee, O Lord. Lord, hear my call. Yes. The words that I saw were the words of Psalm 130. and the page marked by that ribbon was the liturgy of burial. My mother had probably marked that page before her passing as she wrote the liturgy for her own funeral. But to this day, I think that book was placed on that table in that moment because God had heard my call of what am I going to do now? And as I read the words of the psalm, I heard God's promise of hope in times of hopelessness. I read further and saw, I wait for the Lord. My soul waits for him. In his word is my hope. Wait for the Lord. For with the Lord there is mercy. My friends, this was the moment that my path to the priesthood truly began. The Lord heard my call in the depths of despair as I was surrounded by death. And the Lord used those very depths to water the seeds of my call to ministry. And in that moment of hopelessness, I found hope. And I wanted to share that hope with others. And without that hopelessness, I would not be standing here now before y'all as an ordained minister. So as we go forth into the world today, let us wait for the Lord. For in the Lord's word there is hope. No matter the depths of the despair in which we find ourselves, let us not be overcome by hopelessness. Let us not give in to sadness. Let us not wander aimlessly in the wilderness of our pain. No. Let us instead call upon the Lord and allow the Lord to turn our pain into resilience, our sadness into joy, and our hopelessness into hope. This, my friends, is the power and the promise of the resurrection. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy will come in the morning. For in the Lord, hope reigns eternal. Amen.